Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 278. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google Plus and the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. With us tonight is David Rozam, maybe the oldest person in SEO. He's been a copywriter for 40 odd years and an SEO copywriter for the last 10, and is now an internet marketer based in the sunny side of England, down there near Brighton.
Now you can guess which of that is true and which of that is just made up.
It's all true. It's all true.
It just evolves every week, it does. It just gets that bit further away from the truth.
Well, Richard Hearn is CEO of redcardinal.ie or Red Cardinal Ltd. He's currently based in Thailand. Yeah, I'm checking the background there. Richard deals with higher end sites, and we're very glad to have him here. Sash Meyer is a disaster recovery specialist. He's based in, I think, in, where are you, Cyprus now, Sash?
No, at the moment I'm in the UK.
Okay.
For about another month, 6 weeks.
To go to Cyprus. Sash is also a Google top contributor on the Google Webmasters community. Tim Capper is a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. He's also CEO of onlineownership.com, and that's where you can find Tim, onlineownership.com. And I think sash.co. Is that right?
That's so you can find Tim there as well. So if you want Tim, just go to sash. I said you can find Tim there as well. So if you want Tim, just go to sash.co.
Does he say that he's sovereign?
I'll get a message to him. Don't worry.
And William Rock is proud to call himself an SEO. He's based in Kansas in the United States. All right, let's go and answer some of these questions. We have 32 tonight, so a bit of a workload. I hope we get them all done before I fall asleep. I haven't seen this one. It's titled, "Which link building technique is important to get an organic result?" For some reason, Raja Kumar N said, "I'm mainly targeting keywords alone."
Well, nobody. Tim, you want to do it? No, you never stop talking when you get started. Now go on, have it. Oh, what? So he's beating himself again.
Come on, somebody at least say links that people will click or something good.
Oh,
yes.
Link. You're talking about links?
Ones we're talking about links.
They're talking about link building and what links are good for organic SEO. The ones that you actually acquire that people, Richard just said it, that people will click. The ones that get you traffic will have the best benefit. If you're just links for the sake of links and links for the sake of keywords, that is so 1999.
Yeah, Back to the Future, like you said, Sash. But yeah, the ones that people want to click, the ones that are valuable, the ones that you don't even have to try to get. People are actually writing about you for a reason.
Problem is, and I've just had this discussion with an old colleague of mine. Most people produce content themselves. Is actually one of the big diseases in the SEO industry is the fact that you're not writing for your target audience. You're writing for either your contemporaries or peers and equals. And so, you know, from that point of view, there's limited scope there. Also, from the linking aspect of things, again, who are you getting links from and for? You know, it's an ambiguous question to begin with, and there's not really any easy answer without being further ambiguous.
Yeah, and instead of thinking about getting a link, start thinking about what adds value to the brand. And I'll give you some examples in the sense that's worked really well in the last sort of 6 months for me. So I've picked up a vascular surgeon now. So you think to yourself, how the hell, I'm not medical based. I'm like, what do I start doing about vascular surgery? Okay. So the point here is, so then I start, as a consumer, I start trying to understand, and this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing for your clients, is you should try and understand the market. Okay. So I was like, well, what are these consumers doing? Well, if it includes surgery, people want to know qualifications. They need to know where, which hospitals, etc. So firstly, we expanded his on the British Medical Association, because initially it just had his name and telephone number. I'd seen I'd found other doctors who had literally these whole kind of things. So great stuff. So we expanded that. The next one was all of these private hospitals have their own listing of all their specialists. Great. You don't have one on there. Let's get that sorted. And properly and well. Then also there's the then there's the issues of so go down the road. The other thing is, this guy is actually the only one in the UK that is licensed to actually train other guys. I mean, boom! Wow, this is like, okay, that's a medical article. So I've got to now go and find out who publishes medical articles and would want to be published. Actually, that's practicing now, and he is literally the trainer of all trainers. He's the only one. And how can we create a story about that? We found a medical journal that was interested in that, and boom, there wasn't a link out of it. But what it is the semantic understanding between the guy's name, who he is, and where he's working, and the traffic that is going to be initially coming from that, people searching for the specific guy afterwards. Okay, so try and get the link thing out of your head, in the sense of just a link. So those are some of the examples, or at least an example that I can give you. In try to just think a little bit more in terms of a brand and the brand online rather than a link.
Yeah, good point. Like a reputation building, like you get, the citation of that doctor's name being referenced versus getting that actual physical link.
All right. Because we've got 32 questions, let's call that an answer, and we'll move on to the next. I'm not sure if I tweeted that. Yes, I did. Right, this one is from Stuart Wilson. It's titled One Page or Multiple Pages. Stuart went on to ask, he said that we sell products of various sizes, for example, 250 mil, 500 mil, or 1 kilo, 2 kilo, etc. From an SEO point of view, is it best to have individual product pages for each, or one page with a drop down for the various sizes and volumes? We have individual pages, but I worry about duplicated content and spreading any juice, we have over several pages rather than one. I'm guessing one page may be best from a user experience point of view.
One
Yeah,
page, I say.
yeah, definitely one page. Sorry, I'm interrupting me. No, I had this with a client of mine a couple of years ago in the adult sector, and specifically with feathered skirts, which were available in about 9 different colors, 7 different sizes, and various types of feathers. And he insisted on having a product page, and then proceeded to have different descriptions for each and every single one of the, and it was insanity. It was complete insanity. Don't do it. One product page with different sizes. We're done.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, I can't match that anecdote, so I'm just going to say one page.
Yeah, and of course, if he's already got he's already got several pages, so the answer would be to canonicalize them, or pick one of those sizes and canonicalize the rest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Well, I mean, it's important that Google can actually see the breakdown of the. Yes, it's the same variation. It's just just like you're looking at a T-shirt. You got small, medium, large, or the colors variants. So it's just really a variant is what you're looking at and canonicalizing.
From my perspective as a customer, if I land on the medium T-shirt page and I say, okay, I want an extra large, and it takes me to a different page, it's going to piss me off. It's bad user experience.
Yeah.
There are some CMS that might hoist that on you, though. You may have no choice. If he has multiple pages, you should just kill the rest and redirect them to one, and then make sure he's got on the page all those different sizes, and then he'll rank nicely, probably.
Okay.
It's sometimes tricky with certain shopping carts where they actually create those independent pages, and so you've got to, like Richard was saying, put the redirects to that original page.
Okay. This one from Job and John. It's titled Media and Attachment URLs. He wants to know, from an SEO point of view, which is better for media and attachment URLs? A, redirect attachment URLs to the attachment itself. B, show media in search results. Not showing media in the search results would technically mean that those will have a no index robots meta tag and will be excluded from XML sitemaps. I recently got an index coverage issue message in the Search Console stating that a few media URLs seem to be a soft 404.
It's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, it sounds like if something is a soft 404, it means it didn't serve the media when it went to crawl the URL. So you don't redirect attachment URLs to the attachment itself. The URL should point at the attachment. If they don't, that's a 404, and it means, yeah, soft 404 is your CMS doing that. This is a weird question. He just needs to fix the links or fix the CMS.
But it depends on what type of media we're talking about. If it's basically press releases or something like that was on a PDF, then making sure that PDF is visible. Or if it's a video file like a YouTube embed or even just an image, making sure that those are properly, like you said, it's soft 404. So basically, it's somewhere in the CMS it's giving a problem, and I would just go back to the source. Where's the source? Looking at the actual hard-coded HTML and seeing maybe there's a problem there. SEMrush is a great thing to scan through a link audit and see if there's broken images, broken URLs, stuff like that. But if it's something you want to be found in the search engine, I wouldn't no index, no follow.
Thank you, William. All right, let's move on to the next. I hope that's enough for you, Job and John. This one from Chandra Prabha Arun. It's titled "For Developing a Digital Marketing Team as a Marketing Manager. What will be the strategy in brief?" Your valuable opinion, please.
Pick people who actually know about digital marketing.
Well, and also proven, points. They've actually been in the industry for a little while. They know how to actually run their section of the department, and so that you're just being a manager.
Another thing I just think of is that digital marketing is quite broad, and you have to decide what areas of digital marketing are going to be the best suit for your business, your company, because you may want to sort of focus on some and not focus on others.
Yeah, totally. You may be specializing in a specific area. You may have a design team also on the one side. You may social. You may specialize more in offline, PR, things like that. It all depends on what you want to specialize in. Those are the kind of people you're going to be hiring in to fulfill roles.
The other thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, but I've never really worked in a massive agencies, so I couldn't.
Yeah, and I would probably throw in, what depends on what you're actually wanting to bring in. If you're bringing certain people in-house, or you're actually outsourcing some of these pieces, looking at how you can work on those teams, and also looking at your budget. So what do you have to work with? Is it worth actually bringing somebody in-house, or actually using certain parts of that which is outsourced to consultants? So the same thing, know who you're hiring, and do your homework on, have they done these type of pieces before, and how successful were they?
Okay. Thank you, William. All right, let's move on to the next. Chandra Prabha. I hope that proves useful to you. This one from MQ Kilji on how to find article submission websites in your niche to write content for them and drop your link. Oh dear. Thank you.
Don't do it.
MQ.
Don't. I agree with me. Don't do it.
Forget it. Yes. I'm in total agreement with me. I'm glad.
Yeah, and I see that MQ also got the same advice from Travis Bailey on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group.
So here's something else for you to think about.
No.
Okay, here's something else for you to think about. So, forget. I'm not going to go into the whole reason why that's just a seriously bad idea. Okay, because everyone here has said no. So it's up to you to go and find out why that's a seriously bad idea. The other thing that I want you to think about now is, so we've all told you it's a seriously bad idea. The time and effort that you were going to be putting in to writing these articles for these submission sites, you should be publishing on your own site, right? You should be
without
researching.
using a spinner. Sorry,
Yeah. Properly written articles. Do some research on around all the subjects on your site. I don't know whether you have services. I don't know whether it's product based. I don't know. You don't kind of say anything, but do the research on sort of topics within your site, and then answers within that. Subtopics, any specific genres, and literally you can create yourself enough, to keep yourself going for an entire year. Create great stuff, put it on your own site. Novel idea.
Excellent. Also I must point out Frank Watson, Alan Blue Eyes, Dawn Anderson. We thank all of those people for the efforts that they put in through the week to answer these questions as they appear. All right, I think I've tweeted it already, but I'll just make a fool of myself. No, I haven't. Good. Okay. All right. This one from Rami Moskovich. He said, it's titled "What Else Can Be Done." Rami said, "Hi, okay, this is really dumb. On a new updated WordPress site of my clients, the developer has left the no Google index checkbox on the Yoast plugin on. Only now, after a week, I have noticed it. And after unchecking and requesting for a scan, what else can be done? Thanks."
Okay, so there's another quick lesson is for anyone listening is also make sure you are connected to Google Search Console, because Search Console would have, once they started going through your sitemap, things like that, they would have come back to you and said, well, there's a problem here. We've sent you an email, and you probably would have caught it 2 or 3 days rather than a week. Okay, so that's just a top tip. So Google is going to crawl this naturally now. You can just speed things up a little. Obviously, you've got a sitemap, but if you wanted to speed things up a little bit, you could take maybe the 4 or 5, whatever your top line pages are, pop them into fetch and render, and then click crawl all main URLs in your top categories. You can't submit more than 10. So, just take your top line pages, which obviously everything silos underneath anyway, and that's the thing. If you've got any active social media pages, if you've got any content, or hey, just the usual, look, we've updated this, or we've added a new pink fluffy elephant cushion page. Hey, check it out, guys. This is a new product we're offering. So that's the way you can get it out there.
Yeah, one other thing I would like to say is, with Yoast, make sure, to go through what the tool is actually submitting, especially with WordPress. Sometimes you'll actually get like the tags getting submitted in there. Just go through the actual settings and make sure that everything looks like what you want to be submitting to the search engine. Review your sitemap.xml and make sure those are the actual pages you also want in that index as well.
Thank you, William. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you, some developers are massively overcautious. I recently had one come back to me last week. It was blocked via robots.txt. It was blocked via the site-wide settings in WordPress, and every single freaking page had been manually set to no index in the actual page. so yeah, you can. A bit of overkill, but you do need to check these things.
Check everything. Yeah, I mean, even in the basic settings in WordPress, looking at the settings tab, making sure that check mark's out of there as well. Good stuff.
Okay, let's tweet that one and move on to the next. I see Meher Bagat has just joined us. Welcome, Meher. How's married life? Newly married life?
It's going good. Rocking.
I didn't hear that.
It's going good. Going good. Very good.
Ah, cool. Yeah. Everybody should be married. Why should us married people just be the only ones to suffer?
Oh.
Okay, Dragomir Victor asks the question. It's titled, how do you get more traffic on a site which doesn't have many keywords to target?
How long is a piece of string?
Oh. I'm interrupting myself again.
Yes, sorry.
Do go ahead, me.
No. It was a genuine question. How long is a piece of string? I mean, how are you going to answer that question when you know nothing else about the site? Give out leaflets in the high street. I don't know.
Well, the question's to some extent irrelevant, isn't it? Because, you know, more traffic, what traffic? You know, if it's about something really, really obscure, you know, maybe they can write some stuff about mortgages or something, you know, something that people really do look for, and they can get loads and loads of traffic to it. You know, the only traffic you want is the traffic that will convert in some way. That you can do something with, that you can do something for the traffic, for the people, power to the people, even. You're thinking about it wrongly. It's not volume, it's quality. And understand the real searcher intent keywords. Don't just say this two-word key phrase is only got 3 searches on it this month or something. Forget it. Find the small number of really juicy, relevant key phrases and target the hell out of them.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And then go after, if you were looking for your own business, what kind of things would you search for? You know, if you're in a business for a reason, you know, go out and try to find somebody that does the same thing. And look at write down the queries that you're actually searching for, and maybe that's where you start to develop content to be able to answer that query intent or search intent. I mean, voice search is a huge thing. So people are asking a question, not a keyword. They're asking a whole query string. They're looking for help to find your product, and how do we help them do that? That's where the search engine comes in. But just targeting a keyword or 2 or 3 keywords doesn't make any sense. So I think, you know, go out and do some research on how you're going to find yourself, and then kind of go back to the drawing board and write some content that's focused around that, where you're helping your customer understand how to ask the question.
There is, to a certain degree, the danger of there being madness down the road of just focusing on what your competitors are doing, because you're just covering the same ground again. You need to get into your customer's head primarily. Don't target keywords, target users. Yeah, what are they after? As has already been pointed out, it's the query intent. But why would they come to your site in the first place? What are they looking for, and how are you going to satisfy them once they get there? So from that point of view, also, especially with the growth in voice search, written content may not be the best way forward. You may find that videos, how-tos and whatnot will get you a steady stream of users from somewhere like YouTube, where there may be more available traffic in usable customers than you may get through Google, depending on how obscure your niche actually is.
Finding where your visitors are. You know, there might be not on Google search. They might be actually on a YouTube video that are looking for something in your category. Or on social.
Oh, sorry, go on.
No. I was just going to say on social media, maybe.
I'm going to throw a couple of weird ones in. I'd go after competitor brands. I'd go after comparison terms. I'd go after things that maybe people who don't know anything about you go after the terms that maybe they're looking for. Like I say, competitor brands, quite an interesting one. Go after you versus competitor, or best something, or whatever it might be. Many things you can go for.
Thank you, Richard. All right. Well, that turned out to be an interesting set of responses. Thank you, guys. Let's look at the next. 8 down, about 24 to go. Munia Ruki asks a question titled, how to get indexation like this, homepage and then the categories under it. I am getting the post below the homepage. I don't like that. I see on the community that this was explained that those were site links, go ahead.
So you're saying, how do you get them, but you don't like it? Or are you saying, I don't like them, how do I get rid of them? Is that what you're trying to say? So, okay, so long story short, those are site links. Google tends to pick some of your more popular pages within the site. You can't tell Google which you prefer. You can't add a suggestion to Search Console, but you can remove one. So, for example, if it gives you, I don't know, some random internal page which is about your renewable policy structure, let's say for argument's sake, and it's appearing there, and it's like, well, that's just our office renewable policy. We don't need it in our site. You can remove that via Search Console, but you can't make suggestions for it. As to removing them all together, well, if you don't like them all, I don't think you can do all of that, because I'm assuming if you removed all of them, Google will then just rotate through different pages on your site. So what I would probably suggest to do is just to fine-tune the ones that are on there. You can't suggest, but if there is a really bad one in there, you can recommend that for removal or ask that to be removed. See what it's replaced with, and then, you know, go for an even balance. But you can't just get rid of them all, and you can't request them.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, let's move on. Let's forget that. JL Faverio asks the question titled, is there a quick way to count the number of images indexed in Google Images instead of manually counting?
I believe that's going to be in your Search Console, where you're going to see pages indexed and images indexed.
Can you filter by images?
You used to be able to. I don't know if you still can do that in advanced image search, but then I think you would use a kind of like a site colon URL property, but I'm not sure how you would do that in a new version of search interface. I haven't done that for a while, but I normally go through and find out how many. I mean, in your dashboard for the Search Console, you can identify right in your sitemap how many images have been submitted and how many images have been indexed. That might not show you how many are actually getting ranking.
It would only show you what you've submitted, though, would it? It would only be from your sitemap. So if you only submit 500 and you've got 500,000, it's only going to say submitted 500, indexed of those 500, I think. It's an interesting question, actually. I'd never thought about this before.
And most of those images, they're also looking, I would imagine, for duplications. So if it's the same image that's over and over and over that they've seen, the bot has already seen, it's probably not going to show that stuff you would see like stock photography. Now, if it's your own image that you're submitting, you're going to have more likelihood to get in that image search, just like you would a piece of content, video, or written.
You could also combine the site colon with the file type classifier, and you could just set file type to PNG or file type to GIF, file type to JPEG. That might work. That might give you some. It would certainly be a hell of a lot easier than manually counting what comes back. But that probably should work. File type and site.
Yeah, I think you might be right there, Richard. All right, let's move on to the next. This one from Josu Sanchez and Elder on random search positions. He said, my site is usually on the second page for my gold keyword. However, during the last 2 weeks, I've noticed it's going to top 5 every day for around 10 minutes. Then it usually drops back to the original position, 16th on the second page. Does anybody know what that means? Does somebody know if it will eventually rank me in the top 5, or is this just a random thing?
I like the first response. Wade, are you actually checking your ranks every 10 minutes? That's the first thing that comes into my mind. He just keeps on checking to see where he ranks. He's probably the number 1 searcher for his term.
And how is he doing it?
Yeah. I was going to say the same. Incognito mode is basically going to be the same. Right? Looking at it, is he logged in, and then he's going to see a fluctuation constantly if he's always bringing up that keyword, or if he's using a tool, but the tool is not going to check it every 10 minutes either. But Google's always going to change that ranking position. They're going to test different things. That's why you start seeing in your Google Search Console average position for that query. And if you start to see fluctuation upwards, then they're actually trusting that. I would say trusting that keyword or that page and giving you more opportunity to show for the visitor experience. But then, your golden keyword is basically, is that actually bringing you business? And is it converting into leads? And that's where your analytics are going to come into play. It may actually just be a golden keyword that you think is good, but it may actually be not that keyword that's ranking and giving you business.
It's worth mentioning, though, there's been a big update recently, so he may be seeing some of this also. This may be coming into play. Like it's probably worth mentioning in here that a lot of stuff is changing right now. So,
good point. Yeah, there's been a search engine land, I think, in Journal has been talking about the fluctuation quite a bit.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
it's not healthy to do what he's doing, to be honest. He'd be better off spending his time just ignoring this and maybe checking it once a week.
You would be amazed. Actually, no, I know you wouldn't, but how many people I've told that and how many people then absolutely do not do it because they're just fixated.
Okay.
Or they hired an SEO firm that basically they're going, hey, I'm paying all this money. I need to be at that rank. But going back to the same point is that position or that keyword actually doing business for you? Or if you really want to be up there all the time, you should actually use AdWords.
Okay. Kalam Laziz asks a question on how to increase domain authority for my domain. Yes, go ahead.
Why do you want to increase domain authority? Because domain authority is not recognized by any search engine. So why do you want to increase it for some third party?
Hang on, says you.
Says me.
All right.
No, in the sense that your domain's authority, but he's talking specifically about I want to increase my DA.
So he's talking about mods.
Yeah, so why do you want to increase that specifically in a third-party tool, right? You need to understand what it is, as in your actual domain, and how do I increase my entire website's brand and authority online is what you should be thinking about, and not about how do I increase some third-party metric.
Yeah, but in fairness, if you go about it backwards, it's probably a reasonably good proxy for, like, the higher the site ranks, the higher the DA, or the higher the DA, the higher the site ranks. So you can sort of understand why a layperson would come about it this way. They go, well, all the sites with high DA, they seem to rank well and get lots of traffic. So I need to get high DA from my site. That's just how people will think when they don't really understand the stuff.
So listen, it's such a broad subject. Essentially, you're saying, how do I increase my website's brand, authority, visibility, and its authority online? Well, that is the whole point of online marketing, branding. We can start at the beginning, whether it's on page and off page. That's an entire 40-hour hangout. So I would say start doing some research.
Okay. You haven't been in a 40-hour hangout, Tim? Might have seemed like it.
He would actually have to draw breath at least 3 times during a 40-hour hangout.
All right, let's. I'll try and tweet that, and let's move on to the next. We're 12 into 32. Number 12 on your run list from Jerome Dingledine. Which tools are the most accurate, and what are the key aspects to focus on? Hey people, he said, just a quick question about website performance. Which tools are the most accurate, and what are the key aspects to focus on? For example, Google page speed, GT metrics, etc.
I don't think he'll have any problem using any of those. Like if he makes his site faster, like the difference in the metrics that those tools will provide, it's not going to be huge in the grander scheme of things. Like if he makes his site fast enough for any of those, it's probably going to work pretty well. When he gets to a different level, if he's enterprise class, then he's going to measure things very differently. They're going to actually have tools set up within their site that measure everything. But for his level, like if he just gets a site running pretty fast in any of those tools, it's going to be good enough.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Right. Our next question is from Elvin Mahalak. On this time, what's the best tool for an entire website site analysis? Thanks.
Yeah, it's a unique.
There's a lot of
analysis. That's the question. What's a site analysis?
Yeah, see, this is it. It's like you're going to use one tool for everything. There's no such animal, I don't think. Not yet.
There's a lot of different things. Also going through manually. There's a lot of different things you need to look at when doing an audit of your site. One's like Dash mentioned, there's not one tool that you can actually use. I mean, there's SEMrush, there's so many different tools out there, but you really have to go at a totally different level of what your site's doing and how it's performing. And going back to the last one, your images could be huge and loading really bad on mobile.
It's like Richard said. It's like, what are you actually looking at? Sorry.
Yeah. Go on. I would say just one tool that actually is pretty good, like from an SEO perspective, and it's pretty new, is SiteBulb. And actually, it's pretty good in the reports it provides and some of the insights it provides. They've taken a different angle. Like they're not just pulling all the data and then just showing you all the data. They're trying to actually build some intelligence into what they're actually presenting you in the reports. It's a subscription tool. It runs locally on your client, but it'll basically crawl your site and it will give you some pretty good information. That might be what he's looking for. I mean, it really depends. There's lots of these different tools, and you really have to come back and say, what are you trying to analyze here?
Yeah, SiteBulb is really fantastic. They've come a long ways too. It's not fairly a new tool, but it's also made by pretty good SEOs as well.
Very funny guys.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's nobody else, we'll move on to the next. All right, this one from JL Faverio again. He wants to know, it's titled Post All Pages at the Same Time or Stretch It Out Over a Few Weeks. JL Faverio said the client has about 20 or more high-quality pages to add to their website. Is it recommended to add them all at the same time or stretch it out over a few weeks?
Will people want to consume all these pages at once? Might be better to stretch it out so people might come back to your site, might remember your brand.
Yeah, and it really depends on the type of content, right? So if it's basically product information, it might be worthwhile to put it out there, but then stretching it out, like you said, Richard, it might actually be helpful for the optimizer to go through and see how
these are high quality pages.
High quality?
High quality pages absolutely must be top-notch quality pages because that's what he says.
Oh, wow. You know, but going back, if they're high quality, they're probably product pages. They might be FAQs. They might be, knowledge graph opportunities. Who knows? But I don't think there's a real specific if it's 2 weeks or a month or 2 days. I think it depends on multiple things. How fast can you get those out there? What are the reasons why the content exists? And yeah, it depends. Typical SEO answer.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next. Almost halfway through. Marvin Hernandez said, when Google changes your meta description to something showing on your page instead. Marvin said, hello, everyone. He said, my question is, what are your suggestions when this happens?
Well, Googlebot does this all the time without you probably even realizing it. But probably the only time you realize is when you catch it yourself live in search. In fact, there was an article published today by Joe Hawkins specifically on the findings for local search results. And she's noticed a massive increase because she uses I can't remember which tracker she uses, but it actually takes screenshots for search queries in local spaces, and a lot of internal pages are actually being rewritten. So yeah, Google does this all the time. How can you guarantee it? Well, you can't really. Google changes it to try and increase your actual click-through rate depending on what the search query was. Or if your site's really bad, or if your description's really bad and doesn't fit within the context of the page, but they do it all the time.
Yeah, and I mean it's query specific, so it's not like it's a one size fits all description change. So you might still have your description showing for 50% of your queries, and then it just makes it up as it goes along. So this is somewhere you can be chasing your tail for the rest of eternity without really making any headway at all.
Let's assume it's for the target keyword of the page, though, just because that's probably what someone is going to search on when they're checking this stuff. So, like, they do change it all the time for sure for different queries, but assuming it's your target keyword, take a look and see what they are actually changing it to, and that might give you some pointers in terms of what type of content that they think will work best for users in that snippet. And maybe update your meta description and be thankful they're taking it from the page and they're not taking it from somewhere like your URL or somewhere weird and wonderful like that, or something that's not on the page at all, which tends to happen with page titles or other weird and wonderful things. It's a hint from Google, though. Take it as a hint and see if you can update your meta descriptions to improve them. Maybe get higher click-through rate.
Cool. Thank you, Richard. All right, let's move on to the next, if I can find my mouse. This one from Glenn Gissing. He said, my page doesn't show up as I edited it when I try Googling it. Keeping in mind that we have all levels and we answer all questions, I think this is simply that he hasn't published the page. But anyway, Glenn said, hey guys, first time writer, I hope you're all going well. Just thought I'd ask. I tried editing the title of my blog yesterday for SEO. It is edited in the back end of WordPress, but it doesn't show up as I edited it when I try Googling it. Any suggestions? Not sure if I can put any links in here, but pretty interested to learn how it works. So thanks in advance.
Chances are this is just a... Oops, sorry.
Okay, go on, you go on. We're going to say the same thing, I'm sure. And we're not even...
Chances are it's just a question of Google hasn't gotten around to recrawling since you actually saved it, because WordPress applies that across the board instantly. So just patience. Google may take a few days. to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can manually submit it again, just so that Google can crawl it for you. Or you can manually submit it to Google to crawl this page.
Yeah, totally.
That's right. As Maher said, you can fetch as Google and request indexing of the page, or all the pages from that page. Okay, let's tweet that and move to the next. Thank you, Maher.
Right, I am going to have to run, gentlemen and lady. I shall see you all next week. But yeah, I've got an appointment. Catch you later.
There's Ash.
Bye bye.
Thanks, mate. All right. It's titled the SSL certificate is a ranking factor. Yes, but I'm not sure that's right. Anyway, he said, but is the certificate type a factor?
No.
No.
It could be a slight ranking factor. It wouldn't surprise me, actually, to be honest with you, if they gave a little bit of a boost.
I think in July, when they start showing not secure for every page, then it may be a slight one. But at the minute, I've changed sites, and I've changed very comparable sites, and there's like, a blip, nothing.
Yeah.
But as
certificate, it surely doesn't matter because there's many different types of certificate in there. So
yeah.
But over time, it's well worth putting a cert on, even though I don't take my own advice.
I would say, forward thinking and all, there could be a point when Google runs out of shit to play with, where, for example, a high value site. So, for example, if I'm buying a Rolex or a Breitling for £250,000, may benefit from a higher end certificate where you actually are required to have, where there's actually insurance on it, etc., etc. I'm talking future thinking here, but there may, and again, it would only be something slight, and maybe for, I don't know, if there was, I don't know, so forward thinking maybe, but it's not going to be,
I mean, EV certs have been around for a good long time, and they, in some browsers, they'll show your corporate entity name, but I don't think they took off as they expected them to. I mean, they were been sold saying, "Oh, you're going to convert much better because people are going to trust you more because they can see your name in the address bar and blah blah blah." I don't think that really happened, but yeah, I think definitely get a cert. You can get them free now, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, I had an SSL certificate on the site since 2002. I got pissed with the whole, renewing it every year, and I dropped it in about 2010 and just switched all the pay versions on that to PayPal. my traffic went through the freaking roof. So.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Richard. All right, let's go to the next. This one from Andre Osorio. Andres said, it's titled, does anyone use a checklist of SEO implementations to work on a daily or weekly basis and would like to share? I feel like I spend too much time reading and learning about SEO, but what I might be lacking is some sort of implementation structure.
I think if you actually keep a checklist, I think if you actually keep a checklist, it's a good way of knowing, from a future perspective, what's wrong with your site if it ever goes down or up. The changes that you have implemented over the period of time, you can understand the maybe traffic or maybe site performances if you keep a track. At least I would say, not with everything, but with few things that you can keep.
Thank you, Maher.
I usually have a Trello board for each client, and excuse me, if the client is literate, then the is Trello literate, I let them in on it as well. It saves a lot of updating with the client. But to answer your question, they tend to vary. They tend to, the actual the actual things on that list and their frequency and the dates attached to them depend on who's working on it, what we're trying to do strategically, how many different media we're working in, and so on and so forth. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer to this. No, but as I say, I work with a Trello board, and they all kind of, there's a lot in common between them, but they're not the same.
Yeah, so I mean, for me personally, a lot of my stuff is in, fix, and out. So I don't really, I have my fix checklist, which wouldn't run month on month. You see, it's in, fix, hand back. On some sites which I do work on a regular basis, obviously you've done your initial fixes. The way I tend to work is I have the goals and opportunities already preset over monthly periods, and that you work through. So you're looking at the opportunities and specifically times of year and what you're targeting, and then you're working through those. And I have a quarterly site audit on the rest of the site to see if anything's gone arse up. I don't literally look at the entire site on a weekly, daily basis. You're working on those specific tangible goals that you're working on, but then we just do a regular quarterly site audit to see if something's gone tits up by someone else somewhere on the site. So you've obviously fixed it, it's in good shape, and then you move on to the working on the goals, opportunities, depending on what the client's looking for and what you feel is how best to achieve that. So it's not, that tends to be my monthly going forward. There isn't sort of a checklist, because these things can radically change. Clients will be like, this is going on and it's taking off, and you check it out and right, you create a strategy around that, and then you go for that, go full tilt, until you achieve those goals. It can change regularly, I suppose. I'm assuming you're in-house, I don't know. I would try and work it around your some types of goals. That's what I think I would try and do. So look at your set goals over the next couple of months. Work with your marketing team. If you have a PR team, see what their brief was, see how you can align the two, and set it over 2-3 months, and then create a checklist within those on how you're going to achieve it. So whether it be new pages on site, whether it be YouTube content, how do you bring the YouTube content, once that's developed, bring that into this page, how you're going to market then that page. I would try and give that a workaround.
Thank you, Tim. All right, let's move on to the next. This one from Alexander Reed. It's titled, "What's your go-to approach to get some authority links to a new site?"
Well, I go to Forbes and I bung them money. No,
I thought not to turn up and answer their questions. Sash isn't here, so I have to do Sash jokes.
Okay, so I mean, look, I don't know what kind of site this is. So if you're looking at local, here's some things. So if you're looking at local here, you would be looking at all the, the trade associations. You would be looking at signing up for some, your local chamber of commerce. Does that specific industry itself have any governing standard bodies? Can you register with those? Charity is a good one. Have you got any local charities out there? This takes a little, you got to get your wallet out. But hey, there's a couple of local schools, football team sponsorships, blah, 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 blah. You've got to fork out for 12 T-shirts or whatever the case may be, but boom, on your site. Charities, it does take, you've actually got to talk to human beings and open a book, but, it's very easy for, in terms of local. If this is a global kind of thing, then you need to, it's same again, it's going to cost you money. I don't really know, I don't know what you're doing, but don't know what the site is. For big sites, big brands, we tend to use a lot of traditional kind of PR stuff where we approach actual individual writers, magazines, and we pitch them stories, we pitch them ideas, and this could include very nice gift baskets, all sorts of things. This could include a round trip down to the resort that they, a nice weekend away. It all depends what market you're in. There are hundreds of ways of getting the marketing machine starting to move for a site. Competitions out there. What is the site? What is the market? What's the business? And just put a little bit of, brain power into it. Sit down, round a table, throw some ideas on who would be interested about writing about the site. And then you kind of figure out, well, how are we going to get to those people?
Thank you, Tim.
Partners, suppliers, people in your supply chain. Depends on what industry you're in, but you might be able to get some links from people who've been around a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to the next and hope Alexander Reed is happy with that answer. Titled Starting an International Website, Marcus Pensek said, I'm running a successful informational website on one specific topic. It's a branded domain name in the German language on a .de domain. 2 years ago, I started an international website on that topic with German, English, Russian in subfolders. Also a branded domain name, another shorter brand on a .com domain, focusing on a more specific subtopic of the topic. Now I plan on working on the international website, that was the first one, making it bigger, broader in topic, and not focusing on the subtopic any longer. What would you guys suggest? A, redirect the German content of the .com to the already successful .de domain and just doing the other languages on .com. B, redirecting the .de domain to the .com and let all languages benefit from each other in SEO power. Of course, either scenario would be equipped with hreflang. My first thoughts were B, with a lot of fear of losing rankings. And then I thought A is probably the most clever solution. Any further thoughts or ideas? Thanks in advance for your brain power.
The one thing he doesn't mention is whether the content, the German content, is the same on both sites or whether it's different. And it's not clear. I think this is quite a tricky one. It's not clear. What he writes there, I can see what he's trying to do with this, but it's very difficult to take advice from people. People would really need to look at his site and look at his content and look at his rankings to give him a good idea, a good answer here, I think. I think you need to be very careful. Moving anything from anywhere, any one domain to another domain, always has risks, and there's nearly always some downward pressure on your ranking and your traffic when you redirect a whole domain, or when you try and move stuff from one domain to another domain. He can use hreflang with multiple domains, and he can point the hreflang to the .de domain from the .com, and it should all work well. So he might be able to get the best of both worlds. He's also got to think as well, the .de might work very well in Germany. People might trust that a lot more than they would German content on a .com. So he's got to think also about, like, does he rely on conversions? Is there some sort of action that people have to take on his German site? I don't know. You see, it's not clear from this. He doesn't say whether it's an informational site, whether it's a transactional site, what he's doing. So I would just say to him, he should be very cautious with this. Like his idea about B, if you have one domain or two, I nearly always say go for one domain. But when you have to move from two domains to one domain, it's a slightly different challenge there. And I think he's got to be very, very careful what he does. This can go wrong. It's quite complex.
Yep, I totally agree. Anybody else? All right, Marcus, I hope you're happy with that. I think I've tweeted it already. All right, our next one is from Cassie Richardson, who said that URL parameters are kind of crazy due to their faceted search functionality. Cassie said, hello, I'm helping a client who is on a website with a proprietary inventory database, and I've noticed that their URL parameters are kind of crazy due to their faceted search functionality. The URL parameters change based on what filters you add and what order you add the filters. So with each filter that's selected, the results narrow, brackets good for users, but the URL changes, brackets bad for search engines and organic ranking. In addition to that, the URL is different depending on the order of the filters selected, in which case the results aren't changing, just the URLs. For example, URL 1 is Harley plus new plus Softail, 2 is Harley plus new, and 3 new plus Harley plus Softail. As you can see, the number of URLs with similar content increase exponentially because of all the variations that are possible when more and more filters are added. What's the best way to go about fixing this with canonicalization? All suggestions are appreciated.
It's good they mentioned exponential there, because when you deal with this problem and you see, like, when a site has maybe like 30 different facets, the actual number of underlying pages that those 30 facets can make, depending on how they interact, can go into the millions. So you've got to be very, very careful with this. My personal favorite is to handle the facets with JavaScript client side, put the facet data into a hash fragment, and canonicalize so that Google will never actually crawl and never actually see the faceted search pages. Blah, blah, blah. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, anybody else? Oh, what have I done here? There we are. No? There we are. Sorry about that, guys. I got lost.
We don't have you. We have your desktop.
How about that?
Now we're back.
All right. Let me tweet that. Move on to the next. Can one rank high in my business listings fast without a strong position in organic search of Google? Dennis Dubner said, I'm new to SEO, so I had a meeting with my first potential client today. I thought I was prepared, but the client wants to get to the first position in the local pack, Google My Business listing, without getting to the first positions on a search engine results page. They think they don't need to. Can one rank high in My Business listings quickly without a strong position in organic search of Google? Any practical advice is most appreciated. Thanks, Dennis.
So that's a yes and a no kind of situation. Like any search query, you're going to have highly competitive queries and not so highly competitive queries. For the less highly competitive queries, it's not too important that your site is ranking organically for that. For your highly competitive ones, I'm not saying it's an exact measurement, but it certainly will help you if you are in at least position 1 to 5 in the organic results. Then, of course, you need to explain to your client that these, your local packs change all the time, depending on where the user is searching from, especially in mobile. Because in mobile, you could be on the east side of town and search for coffee shops / town or near me, and you will get the nearest coffee shops. You could be on the west side of town and search for coffee shops, and you will get a different result. Okay, so you need to explain this to a client. He needs to explain this. He can't always just, and I get this before, you explain it to people, and you wake up in the morning and there's 14 emails going, look, why is this there? And why is that not there? And when I'm there, you need to explain, these things about, mobile search and the different results that Google is going to display to you, that you can't always have it if you're in this area. And just understanding the basics of the local pack and how Google ranks them, which is the distance, you can't control that. The proximity, you can't control that either to the searcher. The only thing you can control is kind of your online existence, which includes organic. So unfortunately, you are going to have to work on the organic. You can't ignore that. In terms of local packs, don't go all out and just find some crazy thing like submit to 500 directories. No, you don't need it. You want to pick the most relevant to your particular niche in the country. So let's say you're a plumber. You don't want to be going into the German directories as a plumber. So relevant niche, countrywide, or statewide, countrywide. And hyperlocal, which would be actual within the area and specific directories within the area or in that state. Okay. Then you want to look at trade bodies, trade associations, chamber of commerces, and local charities, anyone in the area that you could do some cross marketing with. If he's a tire guy, can you do something with the car wash guy? If he's a coffee shop, can you do something with the hairdresser across the road? Yeah. So, think hyperlocal on that. But unfortunately, you need to firstly explain to your client on how this works, because, unless you explain you're going to get 50 million emails when he drives the kids to the play barn on the one side of town, and he's sitting there twiddling his thumbs, and he searches on his mobile, and all of a sudden it doesn't exist. That's another email to you. And then, you know, when he drives home again the one night, he's like, oh, look, there I am. So you need to explain that to him, but also you need to explain that, and I don't know what kind of market is or competition, but you are going to need to work on the organic. There is no way around it. You have to work on the organic, because Googlebot, or in fact Anabot, that is your local, that works in the local side of things, actually understands things from your site. So it will ultimately understand that, you know, let's say you're a tire guy, it will understand that you also do brakes, or you do Pirelli tires, or you do things. So when somebody's searching Pirelli tires in the area, or Pirelli tires, or new Pirelli tires, that you would actually be appearing within that local pack. So you also have to have that content on site in order to be appearing within local snippets for that. So the two work together. There's no getting away from it.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else? Okay. Let me tweet that. I've done it. Okay, here we are. This one from Doug Seidel on keyword research for ads versus the SEO I've been doing. Doug went on to say, I could use some thoughts. I've been doing some local SEO, and in all honesty, it's been going great, killing it. My top client is gearing up for his big season, brackets landscaper, and he's asking me about maybe doing some PPC as well to really get a good push along. He said, I think it's a good idea and that he should, but the only issue is that I've never really done Google Ads before. I'm looking for a really good and concise essentials guide or something like that to get me started. What would be some of the differences in how I approach keyword research for ads versus the SEO I've been doing? What other things should I be sure to keep in mind? Is anybody with a solid experience in PPC out there? Thanks.
The way that you approach the results can be different. You can find it difficult to really count or to analyze the return on investment in organic. If you've got a very well and easily definable sales funnel where you end up with a sale, such as an e-commerce site, yes. Other things, not so good. You'll find yourself being brought into looking at cost of acquisition and other such matters much more quickly than you do in the organic field. Clients will tend to say to you, oh, but you know, you sold 97 pink fluffy widgets and 108 green fluffy widgets, but it's cost you £200 for each of those acquisitions, each one of those sales, and they only go for 50p each. So the land of AdWords tends to be much more goal driven and number sensitive generally. Now that also happens with your keyword research, because when you're doing keyword research for for AdWords, one of the things you're looking at is how much a click is going to cost, the average cost of a click. And there are some ridiculously expensive clicks around. If you're working in things like the law, I think is one of them, but you'll find financial services also expensive, and you've got to be very, very careful that you don't end up spending a load of your client's money on something that's not going to make you look good, in as much as you'll end up acquiring clients selling landscaping or whatever your other clients do, and the client will say, ouch, it's not worth it. And again, from that, what I'm saying is that if you're doing well and killing it at local SEO organic, you don't want to mess up your appearance to your clients by suddenly going and spending a shed load of money on clicks. So I would be very careful about making the step into PPC without knowing what you're doing. I notice that there's some links further down on the answers in the community. I don't have any myself, but I find that clients tend to be much more on top of the numbers in pay-per-click than they are in organic, and they can get into Tim's example of sending emails saying, "Oh, we sold a so-and-so, but it cost us 500 quid." Don't get into that situation. Be even more on top of the numbers and your clients.
Okay, so some quick things for you. When you're setting up AdWords, obviously I don't know what kind of I don't know what kind of costs you're looking at landscaping, but you want to be specific in your area. Make sure you know your area, tying in into your GMB. For the time being, you can you could do two. One on and be very, very tight with your keywords until you've got a handle on the costs. Stick to exact match, maybe one phrase match until you can see what it is. Like I say, you don't want to hit the client. The client doesn't want to hit with 500 quid within a day or something. Do you see what I mean? Although you can set your daily budgets, you just don't want one click and boom, the client's budget's gone. So until you understand that, so just be very careful. If you've got anything other than exact match, using exact match, you should regularly check your negative keywords, check what people have searched, and because there's all kind of weird and wonderful shit comes up, and then shift them straight into negative keywords. What else? Yeah, the new AdWords really walks you through a lot of stuff. Your location extension with your GMB, your call out extension, site links, site links around it. Start small, and also because this is a paid product, you can literally phone them up. But pinch of salt when they always try and push more keywords on you. That's why they made 50 billion last year, is because they push keywords. So the point is just start small and be open and honest with your client and say, look, I can start this up for you, but we're going to have to do it small and work our way until we get a feeling for what is going on. Also, start looking at your analytics and look when your traffic is, specifically when your traffic is coming in, where it's coming from, things like that, especially if you're local. And you can fine tune those times, days, areas to your actual AdWords also. So, use the data you've got now to make much more highly informed decisions within your AdWords.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, the only
another thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
We talk about AdWords and Google Ads all the time. There are good reasons to run Bing ads these days. It can be that the clips can be quite a lot cheaper. There can be quite a lot less competition for those clicks, and if you know what you're doing, you can make a profit. You can make profitable acquisitions easier. However, the problem is that Bing Ads doesn't do as much for you. The system is not as easy to use as AdWords. So if you think that you might want to try out Bing Ads, make sure that you're very or at least pretty happy with what you're doing in Google AdWords before you run on both or swap. And don't assume that things are the same or work the same way on the two systems. Things like quality score, they both have quality score, but Bing's way of assessing it is different from AdWords. So I would say do the Google ads first, but Bing ads are well worth trying out. But don't get sucked into thinking it's exactly the same as AdWords.
Thank you, David.
Quick word of warning. I don't know if you're in the States, Doug. I don't know where you are. If you're in the States, I don't know if you've probably noticed, you've probably seen that local services, not landscaping yet, but just to be aware that, they are going to be rolling these out big time. They've got a lot of local services, and which includes advanced verification. So just be aware of that. If the business isn't totally legit, you won't be advanced verified and you won't be advertising on AdWords. So just be aware of that.
Excellent, Tim. Okay, let's move on to the next. Number 24 on our run list is from Kyle Arnold. He said .com domain name is taken for a potential client's business name. He said, I've never had to deal with this issue, so I thought I'd double check the recommendations. I've seen a lot of talk about this and always end up with mixed, conflicting answers, as with most things to do with SEO. He said, I'm assuming that if you are good enough at SEO, it won't matter too much, but to give it the best possible opportunity, what would be recommended? A local business with a few locations on the outskirts of California. Almost all other options are available except for the .com, .org, .us, .net, .biz. And they don't have an existing site, by the way. Did .us ever take off? I see some, but it just didn't do it.
No. It's interesting. He says lower in a comment, he says, it appears to be a squatter on the .com. If it's a squatter, it means that his client has a trademark, because you can't be a squatter if there's no trademark to be squatting on. And if his client has a trademark, he can do a UDRP, assuming that the trademark predates the .com registration. But I imagine that he doesn't know what a squatter is, and he just thinks anyone who owns a domain name is a squatter. I own like over 4,000 domain names. I don't consider myself a squatter, so he should just go and buy the .com, to be honest with you. If it's, as he says, a squatter, it's probably someone who wants to sell it. And it's probably worth their while. Even if it costs them a couple of $1,000, it's probably worth their while buying the .com rather than going with a different domain extension. Because people will type in, if you build your business, you build your brand, especially in the US, people are going to type in brand.com. So if you're on .net, you're just going to send your traffic off to the .com domain. So, and it'll be cheaper to buy it now before they have a website than it will be to buy it later when they do have a website.
True.
But it doesn't. But actually, answering his question doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the other domain isn't in use, it's not going to rank for anything. So it'll be easy for him to outrank that. Simple. It doesn't really matter. But it's all about the branding. It's not about the SEO. It's all about branding with this question. Not about SEO at all. The SEO doesn't matter. You can put something you wanted, but still, as long as you know what you're doing, you can rank it. But at the end of the day, if he needs to buy his .com for brand reasons, it's probably better to just buy it now.
Yeah. Totally agree. All right. Anybody else on this one? All right, let me tweet that.
Oh, he mentions just one last thing just about it is he mentions about, oh, we could hyphenate. Don't use any hyphen domains. Absolute nightmare. You'll only end up having to come back and buy the .com for a lot more later on. Don't use hyphens.
Yeah. Okay, this one's titled, Will Changing Business Phone Numbers Hurt Local SEO? It's from MQ Kilji, another question from MQ. He said, hey, am I unintelligible?
Everything went blank for me. Everything just reverted to everyone's avatars.
Mm.
I didn't get that, but I got Jim blanking out and your voice was very warbly and it went and you went quiet entirely.
I did. Put another quid in the meter, please, Tim.
No video from you, Jim, also, yeah? Just your avatar now.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yes, that's right. That's weird. I see it here, but I also see the avatar on the screen. Oh, well, I look better in the photo. People say I look 25 years younger in that photo, Richard. That's because that photo is 25 years old.
Very good.
Can we get an answer for MQ?
What was the question? Because it was blank.
I see. So you guys can share either, can you? I'll see if I can get it up again.
He wants to have two numbers, Tim. They want to keep an old number and a new phone number, but they want to sort of serve it in a little bit of an odd way.
They basically want to change their telephone numbers. They've got 100 locations all over the US, and they want to have just two telephone numbers rather than one for every or so many for every location. And will that mess up their local SEO?
Yeah. We can, however, add a secondary number into your GMB. And there was a article by Darren something or other from White Spark, who did a massive test. And And what he found, same again, they were changing to call tracking, and I'm not sure if it was call tracking. They had to change for whatever reason. So in the GMB panel, you can actually add a secondary number. So the new number would become your primary number, and your secondary number would remain the actual location old number, which would then still create your consistency. But you would still have your new number listed. But ideally, you still want to be working through all the locations over time and fixing them to the new permanent numbers. But apparently that worked. White Spark, you'll find somewhere on their blog. I think he published it on his blog. But there was a thing. And so check that out. I think that's the perfect workaround for you.
Okay. Maher, by all means, share that on the screen. I don't know what's going on. I've tried to fix it. We've still got 7 questions to go. All right, let's look at the next. This one from Craig Johnson. He's got the same affliction as me. He's unable to rank on any of his keywords. He said, "Hi, I'm new to SEO. I have a site indexed on Google, but I'm unable to rank. I have some backlinks, Google My Business, Yoast SEO on WordPress, and have been told that my on-page SEO is correct. I can't understand. The site has been indexed for over 6 months. I originally was able to search for my site using keywords, but not anymore. Please help." He said, "P.S. I recently changed my ranking keywords to freelance web development, but this is still not ranking."
For what area? So look, I don't know.
Web development. Yeah, that's not going to be an easy one to crack. How many web developers are you competing with, you know?
Yeah, even in my local area, I mean, you know, just think about it. Anything over 10 and you're on second page. You know, I mean, even in my tiny little area, I think we've got like 40. Every Tom, Dick and Harry is a freelance web developer. So, yeah, you know, even in a tiny local space, it's going to be fairly competitive. Without seeing the site, I cannot say what you're doing or not doing.
Looks like he's only got a single page. Also, he gives his URL there in the question. It's it looks like it's a single page site.
Okay.
Which also isn't helping him. You know, I mean, if you've only got one page that you can actually rank with, you know, it's so much more difficult because you can really, how many keywords can you target with a page? He needs to start thinking about at least building out some more pages. The loading, he has a loading sort of spinner as the page loads, also not great. And there's very little in the first viewport. You've got to scroll down before you get to any content. Like, there's a couple of things that aren't probably great with this site, but definitely the lack of content is probably the biggest problem he's going to face with this. You know, he has to build a bigger site.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you, Richard. Anybody else?
The thing that tickles me is that the most important thing on the page is birth date. The 2nd of the 8th, 1975, or is it the 8th of the 2nd? Depends where he's from. He's based in sunny Scotland. Just seems a bit weird. I'd like to know about his work rather than who he is.
In fairness, I think he's trying to come across as human, you know, and I mean, I wouldn't fault him for putting up some personal details there. But, you know, so, I mean, when you go down the page, you can see he's got some nice stuff about how many clients he's assisted, how long he's worked. I mean, I don't think it's a particularly bad site. It doesn't. I wouldn't be put off by the personal stuff there. That's personally, I wouldn't have any problem with it.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Yeah, I've got the site here. So you're based in Glasgow, okay? Except your site is literally targeting everywhere, which you need to come back down to earth and use. You need to start looking at quick, well, not necessarily quick wins, but you need to start optimizing for local. Right, you haven't optimized anything for local here. And to be fair, if somebody in London searches for freelance web developer, right, they may or may not click on you, but Google's never going to, they know where you are. They're not going to serve you to a London searcher. They're not going to serve you. You're right. So you may as well now start, actually sorting your site out for local. And I'm sure there's enough people in Glasgow and then on a wider scale, Scotland, to satisfy all your business needs. Okay, so you need to start looking at local. You need to optimize for local, and that is, like kind of the best sort of advice I can give you with this. Start working around local. Yeah, service pages. What kind of web development? What do you specialize in? I see you've got a WordPress logo there and a whatever. So think about WordPress development, Glasgow. Think about web development, Glasgow. App development.
That's, you're dead right. He needs to specialize. He's too broad here.
Yeah,
he needs to more.
Yeah, so get that all sorted. Just one little thing I'm just looking at here quickly. 1272. You've got a lot of businesses running out of your house, mate. Just for your own self-protection, it's self-protection, all of those businesses should be selected as service area businesses. Okay, because once Annabot cruises through those, she'll realize it's a private residence, and these, if there's no signage on your outside, your GMB pages will be suspended. So for your own protection, all of those businesses should be switched to SAB pages. All right, service area business.
Thank you, Tim. All right, let's move on to the next. This one from Job and John. He says, again, what else can be done? He said, how to beat a competitor in the local map pack ranking who happens to be using embedded maps and keyword anchor text on a bunch of PBN sites. I'm looking for suggestions within Google guidelines. I've built 60 plus citations manually and have a decent number of 5-star reviews, but nothing seems to work. The page is optimized with local markups and other on-page elements like embedded maps on the page and the contact page, meta tags and description, meta description, etc. My Moz local score is 77%. Who cares? And the Yext power listing is at 82%. Who cares? The organic ranking for my page is at the #1 position. What else can be done?
Where are you actually located? That's the biggest ranking factor for local, mate. Where are you located? Are you trying to, I don't know where you are, but let's say you're trying to hit Chicago, for example, downtown or uptown or whatever, and your offices are actually just on the periphery of it. You may never get there. Where are you located, and are you being realistic? That is the single most important thing. Is your location. End of story. The other thing is okay, so you say 60 citations. I mean, I've just put a dentist in the middle of Boston in the local map just by optimizing their site, and I think there's 5 citations. Go on with these citations. It's they need to be relevant and hyper local. So I'm assuming you did your research with the 60 plus citations, but they need to be good quality, relevant, and local. But it's your location. Obviously, you need to really look at every page and optimize for local. But I would be honest with yourself and actually look at your location for that.
Thank you, Tim.
I wouldn't go down PBN. So just going back to that, yeah, I know you say they've used a lot of PBN sites. Just remember on the flip side of this, obviously, I mean, if you could identify them as PBNs, so can Google, right? So on the flip side of that, I think you may be, assuming that is what's working, but just remember that GMB and GMB is also tied in the minute a site gets a manual suspension. It actually affects their local listings, and it sometimes can even suspend their listing. So I think you may be looking at those and assuming where's your competitor located, where you're located, and what are you actually competing for. That would be my biggest thing. And especially in a competitive market, I would literally, and if it's a $1 million, $2 million turnover kind of business, then I would seriously just tell them to move.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. All right, let's go to the next. This one from Ryan Logan. Does domain privacy have an impact on SEO?
No.
I think,
What he said.
Go ahead.
I said what he said.
There's lots of very large companies, by the way, like very large corporations who use domain privacy, and it doesn't affect them in the least. So there's lots of reasons. There's lots of valid reasons for using domain privacy. I'm not a big fan myself, but just bear in mind that when the new European regulations come in May, domain privacy is going to be default for anyone in Europe. So there's not going to be any way to see their details in Whois data. So this
and it's already in place in Canada. So I mean,
yeah. There you go.
Okay, let's go to the next. Nitin Rawat. Oh dear, what range of DA domain authority? It's a Moz proprietary number. Per page authority, same again. And Alexa, a metric not worth chasing. Should we choose for backlinks?
You should probably just come up with some sort of canned response to these type of questions, really, because they're sort of a waste of time. There's no great benefit to giving an answer to questions like this.
Yeah, fair comment. And so to Nitin Rawat, we'd say probably quicker to search on dumbseoquestions.com, enter the keyword DA or something like that. I'm sure you'll find a huge number of answers. Anyway, let's move on to the next. We're up to number 30 on our run list. Broken links on Google Plus posts from 2015. Should I delete them?
Yeah, because the only reason they'll be broken is because obviously if the link. So yeah, you can delete them. It's all it's going to be doing is sending Googlebot back to a broken, a 404 page. So unless you are going to redirect 301 redirect the original, so that when someone clicks on it, they actually go through to the page that they were looking for. Otherwise, it's it's the same thing. You might as well just remove it, because it's just going through to a dead page. Yeah, for sure. Delete it. Clean up. Clean house.
Okay, let's move on to the next. This one from Varan Kumar Riyat. Oh God. Will we pass on this one? Wants to know, does it count for SEO to be famous on Quora? And I can help you here and say that it is no. But then I see that Suraj Gadagay has given a serious and seriously good answer. Yeah, but all right, let's pass on to the next. This is from Christopher Chorley. The best way to deal with not found errors in the Search Console.
So at the end of the day is, if you don't have to redirect every page, you need to just be realistic. In fact, if you find it in Search Console, there's a little tab that says where it's linked from. Click on that. If there are external links, as in other people that have linked to it or other sites that have linked to it, then you know that actually I might want to 301 redirect this to something more specific, because there are links out there and I don't want to give people a crappy user experience that are coming through specifically looking for where this product or whatever was mentioned before somewhere else. So you may want to 301 redirect it. If it's not linked to from anywhere else except your site and it's gone forever, just remove it and leave it as a 404. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have gazillions of 404s because it's the right thing to do. In fact, if you want it gone forever, you should in theory 410 it. But 404 it if it doesn't exist and nobody's ever linked to it and it's not going to create a bad experience. Just 404 it. There's nothing wrong with that. But
one exception maybe is if your site is very large and there's a lot of links that are still on your site that are pointing to internal links that are pointing to 404s, you want to either remove those links or point them at something that actually exists, because you're sort of evaporating page rank along those as well. So it depends where they come from. It's interesting with the new beta Search Console, they don't actually provide that link data in the, there's no tab. Like it's sort of a bit daft that they're providing that, but they don't actually give you, you can't even, it's funny, I fed back in it, but there's not even a link to click so that you can actually go through and see if the page exists yourself, which was in the old version. But
have you tried to copy a link out of the new thing?
If it's longer than the width, you actually have to go into the inspect source code to get the link.
It's daft. Yeah.
I mean, there's small things, but again, that's just they probably didn't have the right scope for that particular function. So, but definitely you want to see if these broken links are coming from your own site or coming from third-party sites, or whether they actually exist. Because Google has a ferocious memory. They'll crawl links that they saw years ago. They'll still crawl them occasionally, and they'll report back that they're 404. 404s are perfectly normal, but if there are broken links in your site or if there are broken links coming from third-party sites, you're as well off to fix them, because actually they're going to benefit you in the long run.
Thank you, Richard. All right. We've got a news item on the Google algorithm update. Do we need to talk about this? Nope, I think it's that time again. It is. It's thank you for watching. We don't have any eyes watching us right now, but if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again. And until then, thank you very much.